Now, you have to have a purpose, you have to have a plan, and you have to start putting that plan into action. It's not too important that your plan be sound, because if you find that you've adopted a plan that's not sound, that's not working, you can always change. You can modify your plan. But it is very important that you be definite about what it is you're going after, what your purpose is. That must be very definite. The value will come when you begin to form your own patterns out of this philosophy and put it into work in your daily lives, in your business, in your professions, or in your jobs, or in your human relations. The second premise, all individual achievements are the results of a motive or a combination of motives. I just want to impress upon you that you have no right to ask anybody to do anything at any time without what? And incidentally, that's the warp and the woof of all salesmanship. The ability to plant in the mind of the prospective buyer an adequate motive for his buying. Now, there are a lot of people who call themselves salesmen who do not know that they have no right to ask for a sale until they have planted a motive in the mind of the buyer for his buying. The third premise, any dominating idea, plan, or purpose held in the mind through repetition of thought, any dominating idea, plan, or purpose held in the mind through repetition of thought and emotionalized with a burning desire for its realization is taken over by the subconscious section of the mind and acted upon through whatever natural and logical. Now, in that paragraph, you've got a tremendous lesson in psychology. If you want the mind to pick up an idea and to form a habit so that the mind will automatically act upon that idea, you've got to tell the mind what you want over and over and over again. No end to it. You might just as well blow in the wind as to make a statement unless you put some feeling back of it, unless you believe it. There are people who tell little white lies, and sometimes they're not so white at that, until they get to where they believe them themselves. Now, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between right or wrong. It doesn't know the difference between positive or negative. It doesn't know the difference between a penny or $1 million. It doesn't know the difference between success and failure. It'll accept any statement that you keep repeating to it by thoughts or by words or by any other means. And incidentally, it's up to you in the beginning to lay out your definite purpose, write it out so that it can be understood, memorize it, and start repeating it day in and day out until your subconscious mind picks it up and automatically acts upon it. You can't expect to undo overnight, but you will find that if you emotionalize any plan that you send over to your subconscious mind and repeat it in a state of enthusiasm and back it up with a spirit of faith, if you do that, the subconscious mind not only acts more quickly, but it acts more definitely and more positively. And the fourth premise, any dominating desire, plan, or purpose which is backed by that state of mind known as faith is taken over by the subconscious section of the mind and acted upon immediately. I can truthfully tell you that not ever in my whole life I have never failed to do anything that I made up my mind to do, and I'll tell you that you can put yourself in a frame of mind where you can do whatever you make up your mind to do unless you weaken as you go along. I don't know for sure, ladies and gentlemen, but I suspect that there's a relatively small number of people in the world at any one time who understand the principle of faith, who really understand it and know how to apply it. And even if you do understand it, if you don't back it up with action and make it a part of your habit life, you might just as well not understand it, because faith without deeds is dead. And incidentally, if you tell your mind often enough that you have faith in anything, the time will come when your subconscious mind will accept that, even if you tell your mind often enough that you have faith in yourself. Have you ever thought, do you know how many people there are that sell themselves short all the way through life because they don't have the right amount of confidence, let alone faith? Well, it's somewhere between 98 and 100. The margin who do is so small that I wouldn't begin to guess just exactly what it is. But judging by the good many thousands of people that I've come into contact with, and you know without my telling you that my audiences and my classes are always above average, judging by those people, I would say that it's well over 98% of the people who never in our whole lives develop a sufficient amount of confidence in themselves to go out and to undertake and to do the things they want to do in life. The mind is not different from any other part of the body. If you don't use it, if you don't rely upon it, it atrophies and withers away and finally gets to where anybody can push you around. Anybody. The fifth premise. The power of thought is the only thing over which any human being has complete, unquestionable means of control, a fact so astounding that it connotes a close relationship between the mind of man and infinite intelligence. Now, there are only 5 known things in the whole universe. There's time, and there's space. There's energy, and there's matter. And those 4 things would be no good without the 5th thing. They'd be nothing. Everything would be chaos. You and I never could have existed without that 5th thing. Universal intelligence. The person who is the most successful is the one who finds ways and means of appropriating most of this intelligence through his brain and putting it into action. And the responsibility of this course mainly is to give you a pattern, a blueprint by which you can take possession of your own mind and put it into operation. All you have to do is to follow the blueprint. The 6th premise, the subconscious section of the mind appears to be the only doorway of individual approach to infinite intelligence. Faith based upon definiteness of purpose. Now there's one sentence that gives you the whole key to that paragraph. Faith based upon definiteness of purpose. Do you have any idea why it is that you don't have as much confidence in yourself as you should have? Had you ever stopped to think about that? Did you ever stop to think about why it is that when you see an opportunity coming along or what you believe to be an opportunity, you begin to question your ability to embrace it and use it? And if you've had a chance to be closely associated with people who are very successful, you'll know that if they want to do something, it never occurs to them they can't do it. And that's going to be the condition of your mind when you get through with this philosophy. You're going to be able to project your mind into whatever objective you choose, and there'll be never any question in your mind as to whether you can do what you want to do or not. And the 7th premise, every brain is both a receiving set and a broadcasting station for the vibrations of thought. Since the brain may be so thoroughly charged with the nature of one's purpose that it will begin to attract the physical or material equivalents of that purpose. Your mind is sending out vibrations constantly, and if you're a salesman and you're going to call on a prospective buyer, the sale ought to be made before you ever come into presence of the buyer. If you're going to do anything requiring the cooperation of other people, condition your mind so that you know the other fellow's going to cooperate. You broadcast your thoughts, and they precede you. And when you get there, you find that instead of getting the cooperation you went after, the other person reflects back to you what? That state of doubt, that state of mind that you sent out ahead of it. I used to teach salesmanship. I made my living that way for a long time while I was doing the research on this philosophy. And the first thing that I taught those people under my direction was that they must make the sale to themselves before they try to make it to the other fellow. Every brain a broadcasting station and a receiving set. And you can attune that brain so that it'll attract only the positive vibrations released by other people. By habit, you can train your own mind to pick up out of that myriad of vibrations that are floating out there constantly. Train your mind to pick up only the things that are related to what you want most in life. So by repetition, by thought, by action, until finally the brain will not pick up anything not related to that definiteness of purpose. You can educate your brain so that it will absolutely refuse to pick up any vibrations except those related to what you want. And ladies and gentlemen, when you get your brain under control like that, you will be on the path, really and truly on the beam. And first of all, definiteness of purpose automatically develops self-reliance. Personal initiative, imagination, enthusiasm, self-discipline, and concentration of effort. All of these being prerequisites for success of vital importance. That is to say, knowing what you want, having a plan for getting it, having your mind occupied mostly with the carrying out of that plan. When you find out that your plan is not right, immediately discard it and get another one. And keep on until you find one that will work. And in the process of doing this, just remember one thing, that maybe somewhere along the line that infinite intelligence, being gifted with a great deal of wisdom, might have a plan for you better than the one you had yourself. Have an open mind. And you may get that guidance. And what can you do to be sure that you will get it? You can believe that you'll get it. And it's not going to hurt if you say out loud orally that you believe it. There's no explaining the indifference of mankind toward himself. Even after you know what the law is, you know what the score is, and you fool around until the last limit before you do anything about it. If you want to have results from prayer, you condition your mind so that your life is a prayer, day in and day out, every minute of your life. Tune in on infinite intelligence and to have the things that you need in this world. With this human mind, you've got to condition the mind as you go along from day to day so that when any emergency arises, you'll be right there ready to deal with it. If you would sit down and put an hour-by-hour account of the actual work that you put in each day for 1 week, and then an hour-by-hour account of the time that you waste that you could devote to anything you want to if you wanted to, badly enough, you're going to get one of the shocks of your life. We all see opportunities almost every day of our lives which, if we embraced them and acted upon them, could benefit us. We just don't have the will, the alertness, the determination to embrace opportunities when they come along. But if you condition your mind with this philosophy, you'll not only embrace opportunities, but you'll do something better. Don't procrastinate, don't stand still, attack. And definiteness of purpose inspires confidence in one's integrity and character, and it attracts the favorable attention of other people. Have you ever thought about that? The greatest of all its benefits, that is, definiteness of purpose, it opens the way for the full exercise of that state of mind known as faith, by making the mind positive and freeing the mind from the limitations of fear and doubt and discouragement and indecision and procrastination. Can you imagine a negative frame of mind and a positive frame of mind occupying the same space at the same time? Could you imagine that? And did you know that the slightest bit of a negative mental attitude is sufficient to destroy the power of prayer? Did you know that 98% of the people who never get anywhere in life, that we were talking about a while ago, are no-can-do people? Any circumstance that you place before them, or that is placed before them, or that overtakes them, immediately they fasten their attention upon the no-can-do part, the negative part. Give me a good definition. What makes a great man or a great woman? Do you have any idea what greatness is? Greatness is the ability to recognize the power of your own mind, to embrace it and use it. That's what makes greatness. Every man and every woman can become truly great by the simple process of recognizing his or her own mind, embracing it and using it. Now, here are instructions for applying the principle of a definite major purpose. And these instructions are to be carried out to the letter. First, write out a clear statement of your major purpose, sign it, commit it to memory, and repeat it orally at least once a day in the form of a prayer or an affirmation if you choose. You must write it out. You must go through the physical act of translating a thought onto paper, and then you must memorize it, and then you must start talking to your subconscious mind about it. And give that subconscious mind a pretty good idea of what it is you want. 98 out of every 100 people, taking cross-section of humanity in general, do not know what they want in life and consequently never get it. They take whatever life hands them. Now, in addition to your definite and major purpose, you can have minor purposes, as many as you want, provided they lead you in the direction of your major purpose. Find out what it is you want. And incidentally, it's all right to be modest like I am. when you go to asking for what you want. But don't be too modest. Second, write out a clear, definite outline of the plan or plans by which you intend to achieve the object of your purpose, and state the maximum of time within which you intend to attain it. And describe it in detail precisely what you intend to give in return for the realization of the object of your purpose. Make your plan flexible enough to permit changes any time you are inspired to do so, remembering that infinite intelligence may present you with a better plan than yours, and oftentimes will if you are definite about what you want. It's your subconscious mind trying to get an idea over to you, and oftentimes you are too indifferent to even let the subconscious mind talk to you for a few moments. Have great respect for these hunches that come to you, because there's something outside of yourself trying to communicate with you, undoubtedly. I have a great respect for these hunches that come to me, and they come to me constantly. And I find them always related to something that my mind's been dwelling upon, something that I want to do, something that I'm engaged in. Write out a clear, definite outline of the plan or plans, and state the maximum of time within which you intend to attain it. Now, that timing is important, very important. Whatever it is that you consider to be your major objective in life, write it out clearly and time it. I intend to attain within blank number of years, so and so, and then go ahead and describe so and so, what it is. And then in the next paragraph down below, I intend to give in return for the thing that I request, so and so, and then go ahead and describe it. Intelligence is not going to direct you to nor attract to you the object of your major purpose unless you know what it is. Now, why do I suggest that you keep your major purpose to yourself? Well, the reason, of course, that you don't disclose your major purpose to other people is that there are a lot of idle, curious people in this world who like to stand on the sidelines and stick their toes out when you go by, especially if you've got a high head and look like you're going to accomplish more in life than they are. And for no good reason at all, as you go along, they stick their toes out just to see you fall. The only way to speak about your definite major purpose is in action after the fact and not before the fact, after you've achieved it. Let it speak for itself. And then if the deeds are engaged in, you don't need any words. About making your plan flexible, don't become determined that the plan you worked out is perfect just because you worked it out. You'll make a mistake if you do that. Leave your plan flexible. Give it a good trial, and if it's not working properly, change it. Next, call your major purpose into your consciousness as often as may be practical. Eat with it. Sleep with it. And take it with you wherever you go, keeping in mind the fact that your subconscious mind can thus be influenced to work for its attainment while you sleep, and especially the things that you are afraid of. It does let those get by sometimes too. But generally speaking, if you want to plant an idea in your subconscious mind, you have to do it with a tremendous amount of faith, tremendous amount of enthusiasm. You've got to rush the conscious mind so that it steps aside and lets you go through to the subconscious because of your enthusiasm and your faith. The conscious mind finally gets tired of hearing you say a thing over and over and over. It says, all right, if you're bound to repeat that, I can't stand here and watch you forever. Go on in there and take it into sub and see what he'll do with it. This conscious mind is a very contrary thing, and you know it learns all of the things that won't work. And that's the kind of stuff it's feeding to your subconscious mind. Every night, just before you go to bed, you should give your subconscious mind some sort of an order for the night, what it is you want done. When you lay the carcass down for sleep, turn it over to infinite intelligence and request your subconscious mind to go to work and heal every cell in your body, every organ, and to give you tomorrow morning a perfectly conditioned body in which the mind may function. If you keep on long enough, it'll believe you and deliver what you ask for. And therefore, you better be careful about what you ask for, because if you keep on asking for it, you're going to get it. Now, here are some important factors in connection with your definite major purpose. First of all, it should represent your greatest purpose in life, the one single purpose which, above all others, you desire to achieve, and the fruits of which you are willing to leave behind you as a monument to yourself. Now, that's what your definite major purpose should be. And believe me, friends, if you don't have an overall lifelong purpose, you're just wasting the better portion of your life. Take possession of your mind. Aim high. Don't believe because in the past you may not have achieved much you can't achieve in the future. The greatest sin of mankind is neglect to use his greatest asset. Because if you use that greatest asset, you'll have everything you want and you'll have it in abundance. You're the only one that can put qualifying words in there as to what you want. You're the only one that can set up limitations for yourself. Nobody else can do it for you, unless you let them. Your major purpose, or some portion of it, should remain a few jumps ahead of you at all times as something to which you may look forward with hope and anticipation. Now, if you ever catch up with your major purpose and attain it, then what? What are you going to do there? Get another one, of course you. And you will have learned, by having attained your first one, that you can attain a major purpose, and the chances are when you select your next one, you will make it a bigger objective than you did your first one. If your objective is to acquire material riches, why don't aim too high for the first year. Work out a 12-month plan within reason, and watch how easily you can attain it, and then next year double it. Then next year double that. One's major purpose should keep a few jumps ahead of him. What's the purpose of that? Why not lay out a definite purpose that you can catch up with, well, just tomorrow, say. Life is less interesting when one has no definite purpose to be attained other than that of merely living. The hope of future achievement in connection with a major purpose is among the greatest of man's pleasures. One's major purpose may, and it generally does, consist of that which can be attained only by a series of day-to-day and month-to-month and year-to-year steps. Because it is something which should be so designed as to consume an entire lifetime of endeavor. It should harmonize with one's occupation, business, or profession, for each day's work should enable one to come one day nearer to the attainment of his major purpose in life. I feel sorry, indeed I feel sorry for the individual who is just working day in and day out in order to have something to eat and some clothes to wear and a place to sleep. I feel sorry for that kind of a person that has no aim beyond just enough to exist on. One's major purpose may, and it generally does, consist of that which can be attained only by a series of day-to-day or month-to-month steps. One's major purpose may consist of many different combinations of lesser aims, such as the nature of one's occupation, which should be something of his own choice. When you come to write out your definite major purpose, you write it out like planks in a platform. Number one, so-and-so. Number two, so-and-so. And somewhere along there, right near the head, be sure that you include in your definite major purpose perfect harmony between yourself and your mate. The human relationship plank is the most important one in connection with one's major aim, since the aim is attainable very largely through the cooperation of others. Has you ever thought of that the things that you do in life, if they're worthwhile, have to be done through harmonious cooperation with other people? And how are you going to get that harmonious cooperation if you don't cultivate people? If you don't understand them, if you don't make allowances for their weaknesses? Certainly when I chose as my definite major purpose the organizing and taking to the world of the first practical philosophy of individual achievement, it was way beyond my reach. And what do you think it was that kept me down through 20 years of unproductive effort of research? What do you think it was that kept me striving and struggling in the face of the fact that the majority of people I knew were criticizing me? I had to have an abundance of faith, and I had to keep that faith alive by moving always. There were times when it looked as if what my friends and relatives were saying about me was absolutely true. And in a sense it was, that I was wasting my time. From their viewpoint and their measuring stick and their standards, I was wasting 20 years of my time. But from the viewpoint of the millions of people who have benefited and will benefit by my work during those 20 years, I was not wasting my time. You can't fail unless you think you can. If you think you can fail, then you can. Our greatest demonstration of the universal application of the principle of definiteness of purpose may be seen by observing how nature applies it as follows. They don't temporize. They don't subside. You can't go around them. You can't avoid them. And however you can, learn their nature and adjust yourself to them and benefit by them. Isn't it a marvelous thing to know that the astronomers can sit down and with a pencil and a few pieces of paper predetermine hundreds of years in advance the exact relationship of given planets and stars, right where they'll be with relationship to one another, in advance. And you know they couldn't do that if there was not a purpose, a plan under which we're working. We want to find out what that purpose is as it relates to us as individuals. I'm giving you that little bit that I have picked up from life and from the experiences of men and from my own experience, so that you will learn how to adjust yourself to the laws of nature in order that you may use those laws instead of allowing yourself to be abused by your neglect in using them.